everyone's had a chance to complete their pledge card and hand it to one of the Boy Scout representatives. If you haven't, I feel very confident in saying that they will still accept your card at the end of our program. Thank you again so much for your generous support. This time it's my honor to bring up our special guest, a gentleman who needs no introduction. Please give a warm scouting welcome to Coach Nick Saban.
That support the Boy Scouts. Obviously the Drummond family and Larry, who was a great friend and a great man. But also all the folks that work with the young people and provide the leadership to help them develop. I hope those folks don't go unnoticed because I had an interesting conversation. The Chinese government sent over a professor to go to Yale for 2 years and study our democracy. And I had an opportunity to meet him, so I'm always kind of interested in trying to find out things. And I said, well, what did you find out? What did you figure out? What do you think of democracy? And he said, you know, democracy is great, but you all need to have one common denominator to make it work. And you've always had that. Great communities, great churches, great synagogues, great community organizations like the Boy Scouts to develop the kind of moral character that is necessary to make democracy work. It's interesting. He said, we don't have that in our country. We don't have the freedom to make those kinds of decisions. So, but his summary was, you're losing that. So is democracy going to be able to continue to work because you're losing that? You don't have the communities, you don't have the churches, you don't have people who care about other people, you don't have service organizations who are willing to spend time to provide leadership, to serve other people in a way that's going to help them have the moral character and moral values that you need for your freedom to work. Interesting. First thing I thought about when I walked in this room today, that all of you are contributing to something that's bigger than even you know, relative to what it means that you have communities like this, you support service organizations who actually provide the leadership to really create the kind of moral character that's going to help us sustain our country, which is worth a lot and worth having. So thank you all for that.
Awesome. Awesome. If this were church, I grew up Baptist and Methodist, you grew up Catholic, but in my church background, we just say amen and go to the house after that. But we got a little bit more.
In my church, they make you feel guilty about everything you do.
I've just got a couple of things for you, then we're going to get some questions from the crowd. But is there really an off season in college football now?
No, but it's like seasons of the year. We played on January 10th. Our players had 2 weeks off. We had 13 mid-year enrollees. So we sort of tried to get them acclimated to when our players, probably after 2 weeks rest, they lifted. And last week, this is our second week of off-season program, which involves running conditioning, agility conditioning, and what I call simulated training, which is things that you do at your position, getting ready for spring practice. So we'll do that for, this is the second week, for 2 more weeks, then we'll have spring spring break, and then we'll start spring practice. And then our players basically from spring ball until after Memorial Day, that's their downtime.
Right.
And then we start the same kind of summer conditioning program that we have and winter conditioning, which we call the fourth quarter program. So there really isn't a lot of downtime.
You do some events like this. I think you did one last couple of days. You did work in a little bit of golf with that. Was that a visit with Justin Thomas, I think I saw?
Yeah, we played the 3 hardest holes on the course from the pro tees. I said, you're not giving me a break from where I have to tee off?
It's not good.
So I played 3 holes and hit 4 balls in the water. There's a lot of water.
I hope he shared with you the fact that there are a lot of guys who spend a lot more time on their game than you do that have hit more balls in competition in that water than you did that day, though.
Well, he actually took credit for, on 17, which if you know the players, is the island green. So I said, I think I need to hit wedge. He said, no, you need to hit a 9-iron. So I hit a 9-iron over the green in the water. So he actually took credit for that.
We are a year now or a season now into NIL, name, image, and likeness. What's the biggest impact that has had that you've seen?
Well, the concept of name, image, and likeness is good for players, but I think the way it's being implemented now by the schools is going to create huge problems in college football. Our players made almost $3 million last year in name, image, and likeness, different players on our team, which is great. Players have always been able to work. They don't choose to do it a lot, but for them to use their own name, image, and likeness to make money is probably a good concept. We did not set any of those things up. I told all of our players on our team, go get an agent. All right, so if you have a national deal that you can do, great, make what you can make. It's super. I'm happy for you. But what schools did last year is they created, because the university cannot set up a name, image, and likeness deal for a player. So they set up external sort of marketing companies, I'm going to call them, funded by alumni from that particular school, and then promised to pay players if they come to their school to get this much money. So 2 Texas schools actually did that, and I'm not mentioning names, you can figure it out, but for almost every player that they recruited. We did not do that for any player that we recruited, last year. So the concept of name, image, and likeness was good, but now how it's being applied, you can just buy players. So consequently, the schools that have the most money, the most wealthy alumni, which was probably Texas, Texas A&M, and USC, they would have an advantage on everyone else if they were willing to do it. I don't think it's a sustainable model. I don't think it's a good model for players. So we created our deal, not to use last year, all right, but the way we're going to implement it on our team is everybody's going to get the same amount. All right, I'm saying, look, we're not paying one player more than another for you to come to Alabama. You have opportunities to get money at other schools, so you're going to get this much money for coming here. And then you earn the rest of what you make, just like you do in life. You kind of earn what you deserve, you earn what you get. So I don't, look, a lot of these things and rules that we have in college football now are making it more difficult to teach players the values that are going to help them be more successful in life, which is the #1 goal of our program. Is every player is going to be more successful in life because he was involved in a program. Whether it's personal development, whether it's academics, whether it's developing a career off the field, preparing yourself for the day you can't play football, as well as developing a career as a football player. All those things are really important. And players should look at college like it's a destination. Too many players look at college now like it's a direction to get to the NFL. If you look at it as a destination, it's some place that you're going to have specific goals about what you want to accomplish and what you want to do. and developing as a person, getting an education, being the best player you can be to see if you could develop a career as a football player, that should all be part of it. Not just, I'm going to be here for 3 years and leave. And all the guys that you see make poor decisions about going out for the draft, it's those decisions got made when they were in high school, and by the time they got to be juniors, they couldn't make a good business decision about what they do. I call it blinded by the light. You know that old song. You all have heard that song, right? Blinded by the light. You're so emotional, you already made a decision about something. Now it's not a good business decision, and you can't get it turned around. And then you make a bad decision, then you got to live with the consequences. So all these things are transfer rules. Guys can transfer whenever they want to transfer. I mean, I don't know if that's good for helping players develop the kind of perseverance and resiliency that you need to overcome adversity. And if you can't overcome adversity, you're going to have a hard time being successful because things don't always happen the way you want them to happen. So I think we all need to be careful about this. You know, in my lifetime, where I grew up in West Virginia, my dad walked to school 3 miles to get to school. Walked home from practice 3 miles. I'm talking about through the woods, not on the road. My parents wanted it better for myself and my sister, so they taught us work ethic. They taught us character, do the right thing, have pride in your performance, be the best that you can be at all the things that you choose to do. Have the kind of self-discipline to make good choices and decisions, treat other people well, have compassion for other people. All these values that were important to being successful. But this generation of parents, they don't want their kids to fail. But the first question we used to ask a player at the combine when I was in the NFL, our sports psychiatrist used to ask, is tell me the most difficult thing you've had to overcome in your life. That's the first question. And if a player couldn't do that, we didn't want them. Take them off the draft board. Because we're going to say this guy is not going to succeed in the National Football League if he doesn't know how to overcome adversity. But yet, all the rules and all the things that we're doing in college football now are making it more difficult to be able to get players to do those things because they can always cut and run. So as soon as they don't have success, as soon as things don't go the way they want them to go, they want to leave, go someplace else where they think it's going to be easier or they can play more or whatever it might be. But we use examples all the time of all the players who have persevered, like, B-Rob. Man, it's his 5th year before he ever really played. Had a great year. Now he's going to get drafted. Levi Wallace stopped in the other day. He was a walk-on. He's in his 5th year now playing corner for the Buffalo Bills, number 39. He didn't play until he was a senior, and he was a walk-on. J.C. Ossenhauer never really ever started at Alabama. Played 3 or 4 games when the center got hurt. Brian Kelly. And guys in the 6th year are playing in the league. So when you win and you have success, people get noticed, people get identified. So perseverance and staying there and overcoming adversity and fighting through ups and downs are lessons in life that athletics can teach people that are probably really important in them having success in other things they choose to do in their life. So name, image, and likeness, and being able to transfer at the same time. Now people are buying players off your team. We had a player on our team offered $50,000 to go to another school, $50,000 more if he started, $50,000 more if he made all conference. Is this what we want college football to be? I asked this question 3 or 4 years ago. Is this what we want college football to be? Now, we're going to adapt and adjust and still have a good team because all these things are not a disadvantage to us. They're not a disadvantage to us at all. But is it really what's best for the development of players? development of players as people? That's the question.
Coach, let's get some questions from the audience. Zach, I believe you got, where's Zach? I'm sorry. Coach, you got one right over here. This gentleman.
Hey, Coach Saban, I'm John David Harrell. Over years coaching, does any one player stick out more than the others?
Of all the time that I've been coaching?
Yes, sir.
Wow. We've had so many great players and so many great people, on our team that it would be unfair to so many to single out one particular person that I thought was better than someone else, more significant than someone else. It wouldn't even be, fair. We've had so many great players, but the one thing that's always the difference between a championship team and a team that doesn't win a championship is really the character of the individual players that make that team what it is. Everybody always says there's no I in team, but there is an I in win. And the I stands for the individuals because they make the team what it is. And when you have great leadership and you have everybody who is not interested in winning, but committed to winning, and committed to doing all the things that they need to do to be able to win. Everybody buys into the principles and values of the organization, the standard that you have set for them, and the leadership on the team will not allow someone not to perform to that standard. So it's not always about the coach trying to get them to do it. It's the peer pressure that they have on the team to do it. And our team 2 years ago was one of the best at that. The 2020 team had to overcome, all the COVID stuff. Didn't know if they were going to play. We had 3 months of Zoom, with 125 guys, college students. 3 months. Never had one guy late to be on the Zoom. That's what kind of character and commitment that team had. So that's special, to have people that are positive, that are committed, people being responsible for their own self-determination, willing to do the work, and have the goals and aspirations as a collective group to do the things you need to do to be successful. And then willingness to edit their behavior so that they can all do it together. So they're not only accountable to do their job, they're accountable to each other. And then they have the self-discipline, to execute it every day. So this is unique. And self-discipline to me is not the sign on the wall that you all had in wherever you went to school that says do what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, the way it's supposed to get done, do the right thing, the right way, the right time, all the time. We answer probably hundreds of questions every day that come down to these two questions. Here's something I know I'm supposed to do that I really don't want to do. Can you make yourself do it? Then over here, there's something you know you're not supposed to do, but you want to do it. Can you keep yourself from it? So if you just think of a college student making those choices and decisions every day the right way, they'll always be able to stay on the path of doing the things they need to do to accomplish the goals that they have. And it really comes down to feeling versus choice. You do what you feel like doing, and we've all had our kids, mine included. I don't feel like studying. I don't feel like going to class today. I don't feel like practicing, whatever it is. Or you're going to choose to do the things that you need to do. You're going to choose to study. You're going to choose to go to class. You're going to choose to practice. So when I say, how do you edit your behavior, I get players on our team all the time tell me what your goals are. Then when they don't do what they're supposed to do, I don't have to get on them. I just call them in and I'll say, hey, you told me you wanted to graduate from college. You missed 3 classes today. That behavior does not correlate with what you want to try to accomplish. Oh, I get it, coach. Said you want to play in the NFL. You don't feel like practicing today. How does that behavior correlate with you accomplishing the goals that you have? So when you have a team that has a group of players that have those components and those parts, it's special. It's not normal, it's special. And then some of the teams that fall short don't quite have all those special ingredients that it takes to be able to persevere a season and play with the kind of consistency and performance that you need to play with to be the best that you can be and do it on a consistent basis. So I can't pick out an individual player. I love a lot of them. I guess the guys that always sort of warm my heart a little bit is the first recruiting class, the first full recruiting class that we had at Alabama. That would be 15 years ago. Julio Jones, Mark Barron, Dante Hightower, that whole group of guys. Because they all came to Alabama when we weren't any good. We weren't any good. And they came because they trusted and believed in the process of what was going to help them be successful, and they had pride in what they wanted to try to accomplish for the university, for themselves, and for the state, for that matter. So Mark Ingram, all those guys that came when we weren't any good. The guys that come now, we end up doing more for them than they do for us in a lot of cases because, and they know that because of the success that we've had. Even though we continue to try to help them be successful, they're coming because we've got so many guys playing in the NFL. They think it's a better chance for them to develop and play in the NFL, and that's their goal and aspiration. We've had a really good, run academically where we've got one of the highest graduation rates in the country. So we create value for players, so that's why they want to come, because they feel like they have a better chance to be successful. So, but that group that came, they were taking a shot in the dark. And it was one of the best recruiting classes ever, if you look at the success, that a lot of those guys had. And, to go from, 6-6 to 12-0 to winning the national championship the next year and undefeated. Marcel Darius was in that group. Really pretty special group of people.
Got time for a couple more. Let's see, who's next? Where we got Zach?
Here's one right here.
Gentleman right there. Yes, sir.
Coach, you and your wife Terry have spent a great deal of time and energy helping children. How did that get started?
Well, I think you should rephrase that. Miss Terry spends a great deal of time helping children. I spend a great deal of time raising enough money for her to be able to help all her children. No, but it is something that we really appreciate, being in a position where we do have an opportunity to help other people. She changed the rules on me this year. We built 18 houses for needy families for every national championship that we won in Alabama. So since we came up short this year, we weren't even back to the hotel yet. And she said, I think I'm going to change that. We should build a 19th house just because we won the SEC. But this is all about my dad. I'm sure you've heard this story many times, and Nick's kid really stands for it's in honor of my father, because my mother said, if you ever get a chance, do what your dad's legacy was, which was to help kids. No man stands as tall when he stoops to help a child. My dad, we had 7 coal mining towns where I grew up. And coal mining towns in this part of the country, you know what they're like. They're way back up in the hollow someplace. So the kids didn't participate in sports because couldn't get a ride home at night. We used to hitchhike, and the only time you could get a ride was when the shift changed, because you knew when the traffic pattern was going to be there. And the same guy picked you up every day, so you just had to hitchhike at the right time. So he bought a school bus, started Pop Warner football in West Virginia, went and picked up the kids in these 7 coal mining towns. The first year we never won a game. Then we won, I don't know how many games in a row. We won 26 while I was there. And then when I graduated, they won a whole bunch more and won national championships from this little 7 coal mining town. Had numerous guys go to Western University. 3 guys made All-Americans. But he went and picked them up in a school bus because he wanted to help the kids. If your basketball was wore out, you came to my dad's service station. He put you in a car, took you to town, got you a new one. So Nick's Kid stands for that. The legacy of what he did to try to help kids. When the coaches would come to recruit these guys that he had in Pop Warner, they came to his service station and talked to him. And he decided where they would all go, and they all went where he said they should go. So that's Nick's Kids. You know, it's really the legacy of my dad and what was important to him and what he tried to do for young people. And Miss Terry does a fantastic job of helping organizations that really need helping. And I'm not talking about, we do things when people have tragedy. She does things for people when they have tornadoes. I mean, it's amazing how many good things I think she does for people. And I'm just happy to be in a position to have a lot of Nick's Kids supporters who actually help. But, you know, those Aflac commercials, you know, that money is Nick's Kids money. So that's where all that goes. So, you know, we got a little niece, and she's like 4 years old, you know, in like preschool. And the teacher was asking, you know, what's the cow say? You know, moo. And then when they got to the duck, she said Aflac.
That's biblical. Train up a child the way they should go. They got it. That's great. One more. Where are we, Zach? I'm sorry about that. Thank you.
Coach, what was your relationship like with Mr. Larry Drummond, and what did he mean to you personally?
Well, you know, Larry was, you know, if you sort of try to categorize the 3 or 4 or 5 people that you had the most respect for, not for what they did, what they accomplished, how much money they had or any of that, but just what kind of person they were. You know, Wayne Huizenga, who I worked for at the Miami Dolphins, was one of those people, but Larry Drummond was one of those people too. I never saw Larry ever treat anyone poorly. Always fun to be around, treated other people with the utmost respect, always put the other guy first. I just love, you know, people who can serve others in the way that he did. And I loved it when we used to go to, you know, we go to Kiva Dunes now, but where we used to have the event and stay at the house, and we'd play golf, you know, together, you know, quite often. I remember when he was sick, I was recruiting, and I don't know, we were somewhere in Alabama, and I told the pilots, we're going to Jasper. That wasn't on the schedule. And we came up, Miss Abby was at the house, and Larry was at the house, sitting on the couch, and I remember him barely being able to talk, but crying, laughing, because Miss Terry was redoing our lake house. You know, and I gave her a budget. But I told her the technique that I was telling Larry, the technique that she was using to get more money out of the budget was if she saved money on an item, like bought something on sale, she added that on to the top of the budget. So I can still see Larry cracking up laughing. But anyway, I think he had some of those experiences with Miss Abby too, so he did well for her. Great person, great man, and obviously, because of who he was, There's a lot of people, I mean, there was a long list of Drummonds that support this organization, and organizations like this. And it's because of who he was that they become who they are, which I think is really important for all of us to continue to try to raise our young people to grow up with the kind of moral character that's going to have the kind of compassion for other people that serves them for their benefit.
I guess it's about the last 10 or 11 years I've had the privilege of hosting your television show, but Eli, of course, does your radio, and I've filled in for him a handful of times during that stretch, so I know that on the radio show, you get the last word. So, if we're pretending this is your radio show, as always, I'm going to give you the last word if you want it.
I'm not prepared for this.
Sorry. Well, it can be bye.
No, I think that I would say that all those of you who support Alabama athletics, you've been a wonderful team because we've had great support through all the fans and all the people who support the university to help us have a chance to be successful and have created an iconic brand that everybody recognizes everywhere in America because they relate to the success that you've contributed to, the university has contributed to by putting a great team of people together, whether it's Dr. Bell, our president, our athletic directors through the years, back to Mal and now Greg Byrne, and the way they set the table for us so that we can have a chance to be successful. But you as fans and supporters contribute to that more than you know, because I always talk about the man on the street. You know, the kid on the street, when he grows up, what does he hear? What do people say about where he might want to go to school someday? I don't care what sport it is, and I support all the sports that we have at the university to be successful. But I think you need to know how much you're appreciated because it's helped us be successful through the years. The atmosphere and environment, the tradition that we have makes Alabama a special place, and it's a special place for me being the coach there. It's a special place for all of you that you should be very proud of. And also for the contributions that you make to organizations like this who can have support in the community that's going to help create the moral values that are necessary for us to continue to have, great communities and a great country. So with that, I say thank you and God bless. Thank you and roll tide.
Thank you, Coach. Order.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach. At this time, the Black Warrior Council has the esteemed honor in awarding an Achievement Award to a very deserving person. Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, Larry Drummond was a loyal and generous benefactor, and we felt the best way to truly honor Mr. Drummond was to create a scouting award in his name. This award, the E.A. Larry Drummond Lifetime Scouting Achievement Award, is being presented to a person who represents what Mr. Drummond meant to this community and to the Boy Scouts. Based on the example that Mr. Drummond set, the recipient is chosen based on their years of unselfish giving to the Boy Scouts and by a life lived according to the 12 points of the Scout Law. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Would Patrick Drummond please join us at the podium? It's It's now my honor and pleasure to ask Patrick to present the 10th Annual Larry Drummond Lifetime Scouting Achievement Award to Steve Hudson. Would Steve and his family please join us at the podium? And if you're not familiar, he's got quite a bio that's available in your program. Steve, congratulations.
Thank you, Patrick. Just real quick, thank Zach Lawler and his team and the leadership team for such a nice luncheon. Thank you all for coming and supporting the Scouts. Thanks my family for coming and some Farmstead friends that go way back. Coach Cedric Burns, Coach Saban for coming. I remind myself every morning that God created us in his image, and it gives me comfort. And sometimes I remind myself that I'm the son to Travis and May Hudson, and that makes me proud. But to receive an award in the name of Larry Drummond just fills my heart. Thank you very much.
I want to give you a little professional experience I've had with Boy Scouts. In my past life, I did a lot of interviewing of clients that was wanting a position. Have y'all ever heard of the Wonderlic exam, Wonderlic test? That was one of our tools, and the two people from Texas that developed that tool, one of them flew out to us and was going over this exam, and telling us how it worked and why this question was this way and that way. Before I finish this, I want you to raise your hand if you're an Eagle Scout. Okay. I'm going to tell you what happened. This guy that developed this Wonderlic test, he's wanting us to buy these tests to use. But while he's doing this, he says, this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do, and this is what you need to do. He said, but if you ever interview somebody that's an Eagle Scout, hire them on the spot. That speaks pretty highly when you got a guy that's developed a test, he said you can put to the side if they're an Eagle Scout. So I just wanted to tell you, I had that experience as in my professional experience. What an honor it is for all of us to be in attendance today, not only for the awarding of this 10th annual award, but also for the opportunity to show our support for the Boy Scouts. I am pleased to announce that since our kickoff in late January, we have raised $102,800 towards our district goal of $110,000. Thanks to everyone for attending this year. Thanks for attending this luncheon. Thanks for your support. We'll see you next year and have a safe trip home or work. Thank you, and you all are dismissed.